how do we get over these limiting beliefs, and how do women, specifically in the early years of their career, how do they break that shell? What advice do you have for them?
It's really just about belief systems. If you truly at your heart believe that you can do it, you will do it. Just start with small steps, but continue to take one step every day. Don't try and scale the entire mountain in one day. No one gets there like that. You have to pace yourself out, and it's not a race, it's a marathon. No one is going to give it to you. You just have to take it. You have to claim it. And you have to own it. And then that's how it's going to come to you. It's always a juggle and a struggle. I don't think anyone ever has it figured out. I'm actually seeing the fruits of all of my hard work, and it just feels incredible. It makes me so motivated to want to do more.
It is truly my privilege. I think we've had very few guests from India. And this year, my goal is to bring more and more women. And we hope, I really wish this was in person. But I truly am excited because I have you here. I've been following your work. Um, for so long now, and I think it is not, for me, when I really look up to someone, it is not only the work they do but a life they live. I think as creative people, our canvas is just not the work that we do, but how we're really putting things together. Let's start with anyone who's listening, and people from all over the world listen to the podcast. We're highly listened podcast in the US itself. So for people who may not know you, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone, and I'm so happy that you're listening to my voice today, and I'm so happy to be here on this podcast. My name is Sarah. I run a design studio called Isaji's Atelier. We're an interior design studio that's based in Bombay, but we do work globally. We are 10 years old as a design studio and currently working in 12 different cities across almost 300,000 square feet of luxury commercial and residential projects. And apart from that, I love fitness, I love animals. I'm a mom of two very young girls. One is 3 months old and one is 3 years old.
Yes, and I love because you represent a lot of things that I've always, I at least believe in and stand for. I love the way you love your animals and how inspired I would, a lot of people would tell me if I have children, I love animals. I love my dogs. I've rescued dogs all my life, and like I had three, and now one of my passed away, and we have two now. And they would tell me like, if you become a mother, that then you'll understand that how often people say that, okay, you'll have a child of your own and you'll forget that how your love for dogs or all of that. And I look at you, I'm like, no, that's never going to happen.
So I thought so as well. Like I'm really obsessed with animals, and it's been like my life's dream to do something with animals and be in some kind of a space where I'm either working with animals or helping animals. And I got my dog about 6 years ago. I adopted her. She was literally found like in a gutter somewhere, in really bad condition and brink of death type of scenario. And I thought after I had my human kids, I would be like, okay, I thought I loved my dog, but I really love my kids. And I really love my kids, but I continue to love my dog the most in the world. And I think,
I love
yeah,
that.
it's something that people feel very like shy to say because I think maybe
Yeah.
weird to hear that you've given birth to two real human beings, but you're still obsessed with your dog. And it is what it is. I just want to call a spade a spade. I really love my dog, and I'm just psychotically obsessed with her. And so,
Oh, I love this club already.
yeah.
Okay. Sarah, what really inspires me, like I said, I have seen you through social media play and stand for a lot of roles that women specifically feel challenged about. Having a successful career, but then also being a mother, being a caretaker, mom guilt, being in the creative field. Um, can you start? Let's start with your own experience of what has been your biggest struggle um, in this journey so far that you've been.
I honestly feel like all my struggles can just boil down to self confidence. I think it's something that we all really struggle with. And I feel like the only thing that's changed between me 15 years ago when I started working and me today is that my self confidence and my self worth and my perception of myself has changed dramatically. And I think that's where the real value add is, and that's where the real masala has come through. Every year I love myself more. Every year I focus on loving myself more and doing exactly what it is to make myself feel happy. Every year I try and clear up any cobwebs in my brain I try and align any negative thought patterns I may be having. And then every year by that process, I'm becoming more powerful and more successful, and not successful in terms of, oh, I have money, or oh, I have projects, or oh, I have like some stupid Instagram follower count. It's that I'm happy, and I truly feel comfortable in myself, and I have started giving less and less of a shit about what anyone else thinks. And that's so powerful. And that's I think what I would love to sum up my journey with.
I love that. And did you always thought that you wanted to start your own business and you'd be here where you are right now? What was what were you back then?
So I did 12 different jobs actually. I studied
Oh,
art
you
history.
did?
I
I know
did.
you were in art history.
I
Yes.
studied art history at Duke University in the US, and I was really lonely there. And I found the school to be amazing, but the place and the city to be very rural. And coming from a city like Bombay, where
Bombay.
you
Yes.
I have a million people surrounding me at any given point of day, and then going to like Durham, North Carolina, which is in the middle of nowhere, and super, super quiet. Though now I hear it's become more happening, but anyway, at the time when I went, it was like this really, really tiny spot where there was just trees and trees and trees. Um, and so I studied art history. I did a whole bunch of jobs, including working at Vogue, working in an advertising agency. I did lots of theater acting. I worked as
Oh,
a
you
news.
did?
I did. I always thought that theater would be something I would love. And then I acted in some plays abroad and here as well, and I really enjoyed it. And then I worked as a news anchor and financial news for Bloomberg for a year.
Oh, wow.
I had my own shows in the currencies and commodities exchange. So I had 5 shows a day that I used to anchor and write myself as well. Um, I did lots of different jobs, including working at my family company,
Yeah.
Isaji. Isaji is the name of my great grandfather. And so I
Okay.
that's
So,
where it's from. Yeah. So Isaji's Abdul Qadir Isaji Sham was his name. And I never met him, unfortunately, but he passed on the business to my grandfather, who passed it on to my father. And in my generation, it was only my sister and me. And then there were a lot of these questions that were raised about, like, oh, but there's 2 girls, there's no boy to take the legacy forward. So what's going to really happen? And I think you were mentioning before we started recording the podcast about how there is so much patriarchy in our society. So, as lovely and well intentioned as everyone may be, patriarchy is just so deeply ingrained in our society. And I know my mother felt a lot of pressure to want to have a boy. She herself wanted to have a boy. And me being the younger child when I was born as a girl, there was just, everyone was just like, how? Like, how?
disappointment. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what has
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah.
I think I carried some of that burden with me through my life, and I really did feel like maybe I had a point to prove, and maybe I really wanted to show that I could make something of myself, despite the fact that I'm a girl. I worked with my dad, like nothing was really working out for me. I essentially felt like a failure and felt like nothing was going my way. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And when I was working with my dad, there was one person who approached me who wanted to buy furniture. And she and I just had this like karmic connection.
Connection.
It's like
Yeah.
instant heart to heart connection. And instead of buying furniture, she used to just keep calling me and asking me, like, what should I do in this corner? What should I do here? How should I do this? And then she's the one who told me, Sarah, why don't you design my house and why don't you be my interior designer? And I remember telling her, you've gone mad. Like, I'm not an interior designer. I've tried many things, but interior design ain't one of
Isn't
them.
something. Yeah.
Sure. And so, but at that point, I'd already failed at so many things that I said, okay,
One
sure.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen is that I fail again. And
Yeah.
then I tried it and I loved it. And I think instantly that entire thing just clicked for me, where I realized I'm so good at this and I know exactly what I'm doing. And literally like all the years of trying all kinds of different things have
It gave you
magically.
skill sets.
Absolutely. So it gave me so many important skill sets. So whether it was, learning art history, which at the time I thought was quite a useless degree, because neither did I
Yeah.
want to teach art history, nor did I want to own an art gallery. So
Yeah.
why I studied art history, no one really knows. It's only because I love art. But I never thought about like practically what does this get
Yeah.
me for? But
Yeah.
now that I have that art history degree, it seems so convenient. Everyone's like, oh, how
Oh,
convenient, you have this art history degree. I'm like, I mean, sure, now it seems
yeah.
really convenient.
Yeah.
And then I also went back to school for 2 years. I studied interior design.
You
Um,
did.
I did. I did. I didn't want to. So when I was working with my dad, there's this very negative perception towards like this quote unquote bored housewife
Yes.
perception,
Yes.
that oh, she's just sitting like a bored housewife, so she's become an interior designer.
Yeah.
Because I realized I was good at it, I was like, let me not.
But you were married by then.
No, I
You
wasn't. I
weren't.
just never wanted to be perceived like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just doing this for fun. So
Yeah.
I would so many women who were so accomplished in their field, but anytime you spoke to them, they would say, I'm not formally trained, but I've worked with it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I didn't want that asterisk to be there next to my name. I wanted to
Hmm.
just say I'm an interior designer. So after studying for 4 years and working for 5 years, I went back to school for 2 years. I did my interior design degree, and then I started up, and it's been 10 years since.
10 years since. What did you have? Did you study? Because this is another, because I feel like creative skills, again, when we're trying to counter some of our own limiting beliefs or stereotypes, there are a lot of things that we tend to do. Like you said, you wanted to prove a point, let's say being a woman, that you could make something, and that could be a driving force. And I really think that was also for myself, because I felt like I always felt very passively as a woman, as a girl, a baggage or something that, like, when you look that, when you feel that look on people's face, your parents, family, where okay, they have to take care of something, and you do not, you never, nobody wants to feel like that. And I feel that feeling has always, or how women just passively are treated in the world, in our cultures, in our countries, that became a very big driving force. But also in the similar context, I feel a lot of creative people feel like this limiting belief that they have to come from a certain degree to be able to call themselves professionally something. Did you have that in you at that point?
So I'm a huge like nerd, and I was always really good at school. So studying is not something that I ever shied away from. So I always studied more than I was supposed to. I always did like 20 more courses than what was required of me. So I don't think that that necessarily applies to me. But I'm so happy to see the direction in which education is moving, because you can learn by doing, you can learn by experience. And that's such a powerful way of learning as well. You're not limited to now I have to get this many marks, or I have to, have XYZ ticked off. And I'm glad that educators and education as a whole is evolving so much.
No. What was what were the initial years for you? I remember you also shared on Instagram one day, which was very, also, again, I think these reminders are very important. Like, you started by doing these small bathrooms and rooms, and then you are now doing these huge properties all over the world. This is a huge journey, but also a lot of times we see the front, we see the facade that we're seeing today, but nobody really goes deep down and see, okay, where someone is coming from. And I think another layer to it is, if you come from a privileged background, and I think we're all privileged here, um, a lot of times people tend to overlook. And also, I think another layer is women, because if you're a woman, they feel, oh, might have someone backing you, or there would be a father, a husband, or she doesn't have, she's just doing, all of those things. Can you share about your own experiences through these feelings and questions in your early years?
So I'll start with the first part to it, which was what the early years were like. It was really bad. I was only given single bathrooms to do. I crowned myself the toilet queen because no one trusted me in the bedroom for a while. So I just did one toilet. Then that guy would tell his friend that she does very good toilets. And so I did one more toilet. Then I did one more toilet. Then suddenly, like, I was only getting toilets in my portfolio. But at that point, I have literally done a PhD on toilets and plumbing now. So I'm so grateful for those experiences. It took me so long for someone, I think it was 4 years into my career when someone gave me my first full residential project to do. So there was a lot of grind and a lot of hustle and a lot of hours and tears. And I definitely did not do this in any kind of a shortcut. So, coming to the second part of what you were asking, is that because we are all from privileged backgrounds, and because I come from a family which has a 130-year legacy, the perception is that this girl must have had it so easy. Every
Yeah.
door must have opened up for her.
Yeah.
And I want to partially say yes,
Yeah.
because when I walked into a room, if I say I'm from the Isaji's family, of course the client is going to respond to that better. But having said that, I never took because I was so keen to prove this point on my own. I have never taken a single project lead from my father or my family or from Isaji's. Apart from the first client who I met through Isaji's, after that, I was very clear that I wanted to do it on my own. So my poor father, in the sweetest way, tried a million times to ask me, like, "Beta, I have this very big house. They're dying for an interior designer. Will you take it?" And I had so much pride, I used to just say no. And I used to go back to doing my single toilets because I really wanted to do this all on my own. And
Yeah.
this again comes back to me wanting to prove a point. I've got it going on and I will do this on my own. And I always wanted to come out from the shadow of Isaji's, which is the path that I think if you're in a multi generational business, really understand that while it's a blessing, it's also so much pressure. So I have 130 years of heritage and legacy, and I'm supposed to live up to all of that somehow, you know? And that's so much pressure. So I actually try to run away from it most of my life instead of embracing it. And now I embrace it fully. Anything that I can use to my advantage, I'm like, sure, if this makes you feel happy to know, then I'm very happy to. The other thing that I've struggled with is because people assume that I have been brought up with a silver spoon because we live in South Bombay and always had certain luxuries. That I will not be motivated to work hard. That I'll just be relaxing, wanting to chill in Saint Tropez somewhere on the beach. But that's really not true. Again, like I work really, really hard because I really want to build all of this for myself. I It doesn't even matter what my husband does or what my father does. Like this is like a me, myself, and I scenario. I want to really build this on my own for me and my kids.
How do you think has you, being a woman, and also I think something that's really twisted is being an ambitious woman, specifically when you're married, you're let's say you have children, and I think you've crossed both those milestones. You're not only married, you have two young children and a thriving business, and you're continuing to grow. And I think I can only see you all these years that your voice has gone stronger, your perspectives have gone stronger, and your work has gone sharper in the sense of how you're putting it out there, and that ambition always shows. But in a culture like us, women and ambitious, it's like who's a good girl, and there's so much guilt around, like if you're wanting too much, doing too much. Have you had any of those experiences?
So many. I think before I got married, though. So I think before I got married, even in relationships with men, they would initially be attracted to the fact that I was this very outspoken and badass woman who was always very ambitious. But when they actually realized how ambitious I was, it used to scare a lot of people away. And they used to feel very overwhelmed, which obviously I've realized now stems from their own insecurity, that I'm going to shine brighter or something, stupid like that. But I have married a very, very wonderful man who is, his only goal in life is that he needs to be the best version of himself and he wants me to be the best version of myself. And it has been a truly liberating experience. And I really think this is how important women are in your life. So for him in his life, his grandmother, my husband is 43 years old, so you can imagine how old his grandmother, she's passed, but his grandmother would be. She had 5 kids and worked a 9 to 5 job in a bank. So she dropped her 5 kids off to school and from a conservative Muslim Hyderabadi family. And when she got married to my husband's grandfather, the only condition of the marriage is that she would not only complete her education but also get her master's. So that's the level of how progressive they are, where it is like a man versus woman. It's like
Yeah.
everyone needs to be well educated and everyone needs to chase their career. And so, because I married into that, for me, my business has grown a lot since I got married. And
I was about to ask that as well.
yeah, and I've like tapped into this like extremely like psychotically ambitious person. And I'm not afraid of showing that side of mine at all because I'm in a relationship which encourages me to do that. And I love it.
Because a lot of time I think, not only like of course a lot of artists, but also in general, a lot of across industries, women have this fear. And this is, I remember, um, I really do not participate in such conversations anymore, but when I just entered into the arts, I'm 30 plus now, single and unmarried, of course. um, and I remember that when I was around the certain group, and there was this conversation going, and which was around like they wouldn't get married or they wouldn't have children because they don't want to kill their careers. And it really took me back because I was like, and I am someone who's not even sure about getting married or even having that, but that's completely a different reason. But just because the idea that women, if they want to have a career or if they want to get something, they really have to hold themselves back of being in a relationship or having children. Did you have any of those experiences where you felt like, and you've been a mother for twice now, and I'm sure it must not be easy.
No, so I think it's an anomaly for me because of the family I married into. I see it with so many women in my own family, whether it's cousins or relatives, where the women are really smart and very driven, and even with certain friends, I've seen it. But because their husbands and their situation does not, like, again, quote unquote, allow them. First of all, this whole concept is very very outdated, to allow someone to work. But that's literally how it works in our society, that you have to allow, be given permission. So, in my family, my mom-in-law has also worked her entire life. So when I had my first kid, I took like a 2-day maternity break, and with my second,
Wow.
yeah, I delivered on a Friday morning. I took Saturday, Sunday off. So Thursday I went into labor. That was 1 day off. Friday I delivered the baby. Second day off. Saturday, Sunday I recovered at home, and Monday I was back on my calls. So it was, for my mother, who comes from a more traditional setup. She found it so weird. She was like, "How
Yeah,
can
how
you
can
do
you
this?"
do this?
But for my mother-in-law, because my husband, like their whole family is very progressive, for them, they didn't even hesitate. In fact, my mother was calling my mother-in-law, being like, please, can you tell your daughter-in-law something? Like, what is she doing? And my mother-in-law just shrugged her shoulders and said, yeah, sure, it's her life. Let her do it. She's comfortable. I have no problems with anything, like, genuinely. So, very rare. And the only reason why my husband is so progressive is because of the women in his life. So, and everyone always says, for women who have careers, that the most important decision you'll make in your career is the man you marry. It really is, because there are so many insecure men out there who will make you choose between having a kid or having a career. And especially when kids pop out, then they have this expectation that up till now it was okay, but now that kids are here, now you have to be a mother, and a mother's goal, and a mother's whatever, whatever, whatever. So that's when the colors really change for most husbands, and many, many, many husbands. That's when they really start bringing out this whole mother topic.
That is so true because, and I think this is still, and I think even though we know a lot of this, there's so many women who really do feel that way, and they feel like they have to make a choice because they cannot.
Probably do have to make the choice. That's why they think like that, because that is the reality, that
Yeah,
they will be expected to drop everything. They will be expected to compromise on their careers, and they will be expected to sit at home. So the only reason why I have the privilege of having such a loud and clear voice is because of my marriage situation. Otherwise, even I would have to uh, be allowed to work, or be in
yeah,
one of those scenarios, which is not uncommon. And it doesn't matter what strata of society, what city, whether people feel like, oh, it only happens in rural areas. Not at all.
no,
It very much happens in our urban cities as well. Or
yeah.
people only feel like it happens only in a specific class. I disagree. It happens in every class, right from the lowest to the highest class. The expectation remains exactly the same. It's just about how progressive you really are.
And okay, there's another flip side to this. When I think the amount of multitasking we as women tend to do, sometimes it does bring the best out of us, but also gets a toll. I've seen so many mothers, my own cousin sisters, where when they do one, I think one common struggle I've seen where they feel like they've subdued one part of them, since let's say they've taken their roles of mothers or whatever, um, so that they leave one part behind. And some women who try to do more, they feel like they're trying to juggle so many roles and trying to do everything so perfectly that sometimes they feel like they are carrying this um, huge baggage on themselves, and they really don't find that time for themselves, or just feel over exhausted and all of those things. What is your take on it?
But I think that's motherhood in a nutshell. I don't think anyone is cruising through it, even whether you have a supportive husband or you don't. I think that's just life. I'm overwhelmed all the time because I'm always juggling a million things, whether it's, the kids, the dog, the work, the husband, the family, the social commitments, the gym, my own mental health, my own time that I would like to take off. It's always a juggle and a struggle. I don't think anyone ever has it figured out. But having said that, because women are so superior at multitasking, just
Yeah,
literally psychologically, biologically, we're wired to do it our whole lives. That's
yeah,
another reason why I think women are so much better equipped in positions of power,
yeah.
because we're really able to switch roles and switch gears and switch our minds so fast and so
Fast
quickly.
and quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I really see this with so many men that I interact with. Like, if they're on one task, it's literally just that with laser focus. They're not even
yes,
able to have a conversation.
left
And
and right.
yeah,
Yeah.
they really can't do it.
I just love how women, like we as women, can not only be at our work, but while being at work, they know exactly what what's happening at their house and families, the food, the children. Like, if you care about it, women really make sure that they're looking after it versus,
So I had a Zoom call. I mean, not Zoom. I had an in-person meeting today with clients for a design presentation. They were in my office for about 3 hours. I got like six phone calls from different nannies that are there in my house because there's like eight kids in my house doing a play date. So I was keeping my eyes on that while I was like in this meeting, and I in the office, like I had explained to you, with my dog and my younger kid. So my brain is always in like
here and there.
directions. And I know even for my husband, if he's on a Zoom call and my daughter walks in, he gets so thrown off by it. But for me, I
Yeah.
have one kid in my hand, one dog at my leg, my hand is tied, and I'm on the call at the same time, and I'm
Yeah.
fine. So I'm always
Yeah.
bringing this up with him, like, hey, like, what's the problem? But I really realize that it's the multitasking aspect that for a lot of men, it's just not biologically and psychologically, your brain is just not wired.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true. I really think, and I think that is why, and I also think this is something to do with also being creative. I really do feel like creative women, women tend to get more creative with how when they have too much on their plate, and we are good multitaskers. But also I think having a very fluid approach to things. I think that also really adds on to things.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Okay, tell me something. Can you take me through your own experience of building SRGs? Um, you started as a small firm, and all through these years, you've not only, I think it is easier when you're doing small projects because again those challenges are smaller, but the more bigger you get, the bigger ambition, and as you go get closer, the challenges get really trickier.
Yeah, and the stakes are higher and the pressure is
Yes,
much.
yes. Can you talk about that?
So I think for a while, I have decided that I don't want to be the best designer in the world. I want to run a successful business. It's true.
Yeah,
I don't consider myself to be like, the Picasso of my generation, or like, the really earth shattering interior designer. My goal is to run a successful business, which is making me lots and lots of money, which is scalable, and where every single client has walked away super happy with a high quality product.
yeah,
So while I am a creative person, I think I have now more tapped into the fact that I would like to be a businesswoman, and that's what I have
yes,
seen myself as now. So if I was a creative person, I would think very differently. So if I have a project, I would really be pushy about making sure that all of my ideas go forward. Even if the client doesn't like those ideas, I would push those ideas onto them because I creatively want the entire thing to look in a specific,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
If I'm a business owner, that it would be, yes, I have, these are my ideas, but at the end of the day, I will toe the line to find where the client feels happy and make
yeah,
sure that I don't cross that line. So the
yeah,
approaches are so different. And even if I'm a creative person, I'll only take on like very few projects so that I can fully creatively immerse myself in each. But as a business person, I can take on more projects and find a way to make every project look good and different
yeah,
without losing myself in the creative process of each.
right,
So the approach has been really different. So since I am now a business owner and no longer a designer,
yeah,
um,
How has that shift been, actually? This is a huge learning curve, huge learning curve.
It is. It is. So I think I always saw myself as a designer earlier, and now I don't even call myself that. Like I own an interior design practice, and I'm a businesswoman. And I think for a lot of people, they still haven't understood the difference between the two.
But there's huge mindset shift.
There's a huge, it's a mindset shift. I focus a lot of energies on business development, on my marketing, on setting up systems and processes, on accountability in my office, on making sure we have things like good HR policies in place. We have good employee policies in place. We have everything very structured. My involvement has to start decreasing as time goes on so that I can focus my energies on more big picture things. And so, yeah, just looked at it like a business and a business model and seen where the holes are and where I need to plug them.
And tell me something, what is your personal? You've spoken about really the outcomes of this. Let's also talk about the emotional turmoil that goes behind this. It's like, you know, how metamorphosis is like how a butterfly out of a cocoon. Because when I think when we're as young designers, young creatives, it is so much about me, who I am, who I want to be, versus once you start to take it as a business and you understand that you are just not a creative but you're also a in the business of creativity, let's say. And I love this because I also use it on my Instagram, which is in the business of art and art of business, because I feel like it is both ways. When you are in the business of art or something like that, it's you have to understand that you how do you extend yourself beyond yourself. I remember when I was young, in the sense of when I started, I felt like I had, if it wasn't done by me, it wouldn't be the best.
I agree completely. So, like the first 4 or 5 years of my career, when I was that toilet queen, a part of it was also because I used to not let any other designers either meet the client or do anything creatively. I used to only give them the grunt work to do. So, like, they can make some very basic drawings or do some really like bad amount of work that will be anyone can do it. Any kind of junior designer can do it. But I was so possessive because I'm like, it's mine. I'm the
Yes,
creative. I'm the
yes,
creative head. It's
yes,
me. If
yeah,
I don't design it, it's going to turn out so bad. It's all about
yeah.
me.
And also, like, yes, this, because it is about you. From now, it is about your own company. It is just not you. It's evolved from that to this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think now, like for me, money is honestly a really big driver. I would like to be able to have a certain amount of money. And that's just become the goal for me, really. And again, I think for a lot of people, they may feel shy about saying that or talking about that. But for me, it's okay. I've recognized that that's a really big driver for me. And if happy clients means more money for me, then that's exactly what I want to focus my energies on. That I would like to keep all my clients super, super happy. And of course, there's a lot of job satisfaction also. I want to have a legacy. I want to build a brand that actually has some values and ethics and morals. I definitely want to do all of that as well. But yeah,
And what about how about building a from being a solo creative to now being a business owner that runs a team? I think that's also a huge learning curve that a lot of creative people, and also, as stated, like a lot of people feel like, oh, women are not good, let's say, team leaders. You can't build good teams, and like, all of those things. Have you had, what were your own limiting beliefs, when did you have any, actually?
no, I think I've always been good in leadership positions, even from my school days. I was always in leadership positions, whether it was in like my high school or my college. I think that as I do have very strong leadership capacities because I listen to the human aspect of what it is. So, like for example, when I'm hiring people, it is not the portfolio that matters; it's whether that's a nice person or no. So we're very particular about just making sure that everyone also emotionally feels happy when they're in a workspace. And so I never had any of those limiting beliefs. I think my limiting belief was more about not will I be a good leader? It was more like, should I really do it? I don't know if I really want it. I always felt a bit shy about owning it and saying, yes, I really want it. Yes, I really want to do it. And now I've let go of that. Now I openly say it. And as every year I was saying, I try and evolve and be more vocal and more clear about what I want and I don't want. It's just been that. So now, because I'm more in touch with what I really want, I really do want all those things. And I think with every year, as we've grown as a company, as we've grown as a firm, as we get more opportunities, and we will continue to grow and get even more opportunities. That's the path that I love. Like, I'm actually seeing the fruits of all of my hard work, and it just feels incredible. It makes me so motivated to want to do more.
Now let's talk about something that I'm always curious, how you manage your day-to-day life, like, um how I love the fact that, I have huge, so, like, I remember when I was in the early years, I always thought I never wanted to do a regular 9 to 5 job where I had to um go to an office and something. And I remember when I was even getting placed, and I just hated the fact, because I felt like when even work from home wasn't a trend, I really always enjoyed that. And I love the liberty of working as per my own moods. And I always thought that I wanted to, if as a woman, because that, I think, as women we're raised with this idea, okay, um I never wanted to, let's say, leave something behind and go to work and just be not there. I have always envisioned myself in a place where I'd rather work twice harder, but try to, have a life that is not about choosing one or two. You for yourself have really created this life where you're a mother, but it's not like, we I think we're forced to compartmentalize our lives. You go to office and your whole day behind there, and then your children are back. And oh, I have huge separation anxiety when it comes to my dogs, let alone children.
I totally feel that. Yeah.
I feel so guilty when I feel like if I'm not around, or if I leave them behind, or things like that. Can you talk about a little bit about, and also how, you know because the thing is that I think if a man was doing this, it would feel like, oh, that's so nice. But as a woman, if you do it every move that you make, it feels like, oh, this she's not as serious about it. Oh, she's not able to um tap on leave her children behind. So there's so many things. There's never a right way to do it.
So that's what the key learning is that I have always learned that there is never a right way. Initially, I am a people pleaser by nature, okay? That's just who I am at my core. I want everyone to like me. But I have also started to let go of that, because if you're having a negative reaction to me or something I'm doing, that's your problem. That's not my. I'm doing what I can do and I can control what I am doing. But if you are unhappy, that's something that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. So I have felt very, very judged very often for a lot of my choices. Then at the same time, those same people will turn around and be like, "Oh my God, you're amazing. I don't know how you did it." So since you are not married, I will share this with you. I was older when I got married, so I was 30 plus when I got married. And when we're in, I'm from a community of Muslims called Boris, which is a very conservative community, where if you're 25, you're considered like a dinosaur, okay, for marriage. So at 30, the fact that I was not married, like people were like,
I'm
oh,
still there. I'm with you.
yeah.
With
So
you.
people were like, this chick is like lost cause, and I was like really written off as this like reject. So at that point, I was working super hard, okay, because at about 26, I started my interior design company. And like I told you, the first 4 years, 26 to 30, I was really, really like doing the grind. And at that point, I got so many negative comments from relatives being like, what is she going to do? She's just going to keep working, working. There's no point. Nobody even knows what she's doing. She's just if she works like this, no man is ever going to tolerate her, and it's just totally then I met my husband, I got married. Those same relatives turned around and they were like, wow, amazing how she manages working so hard and manages her husband. And I'm like, what the hell, guys? Like, it's the same person now. Just because I've done this like society accepted thing of getting this husband, now
Yeah.
everyone is praising me. Like, so I got so worked up by
This is like a milestone.
yeah, like this good girl who's also gotten married and like ticks this big box. So everyone is like, wow, look at her. So after that experience, now I'm just unbothered. And also, I literally do whatever I feel like. So I had one very interesting experience in my office. we were pitching to do. So we don't do a lot of offices, though we've done some beautiful ones, and I would love to do more office projects because we're really good at them. There was one corporate client that came in, a man, like a hardcore corporate guy, from a wealth management firm, so like corporate plus money, okay, like finance. You can imagine like the most hardcore corporate person, and he wanted to get his office done, and like super luxury, about 6.5, 7,000 square foot office. He comes to my office. I have one kid that's like shrieking, crying, shouting, playing with toys in my office. And I have my dog who's running absolutely wild. And this guy has come at that time. And I ended up having to sit on the floor during the meeting and play a puzzle with my daughter while I was talking to him. Okay. And I remember thinking in the meeting, I really wanted to get this project, being like, I have not got this project for sure, because, I also had a perception of him being this very hardcore corporate guy. And I'm sitting on the floor, literally cross legged with no shoes on in my office, with the dog going psycho and this daughter forcing me to sit with her and do the puzzle. And he walks out from that meeting having signed the project with me. And so that also shifted my perceptions. Like maybe I am only projecting what's normal and what's not normal. He's not judging me. I have only judged myself. So again, like, it's a me problem. Like I have already negative energy being like, oh God, like this guy is going to think that this girl is so unprofessional. So again, professional is whatever you want it to be. In fact, he later told me that he loved how caring I was with my daughter and that I was able to bring my daughter to work. And he wishes that he could do that, and he also told me that his wife had to choose between her career and her daughter. And he's so grateful to see women who are bringing their kids into work and working with them. So it was so different. So, like, again, like it's whatever you make of it. It's not about the other person's judgment. And yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be. So I've just started setting my own rules, my own parameters for what works for me and what doesn't. And basically just been like, I really don't care about the rest.
A lot of my own team is remotely working, and we're all women. We have a very, like, not intentionally but also intentionally, because we're a women focused community. But also I think I just love the synergy, and all of them are mothers. I think we're 90% mothers. And one of our designer right now, she's pregnant and she's expecting her second child. And I really look at, and I genuinely wanted to always see, because I know that I have seen it in my own family. I have seen it in my, like, let's my own mothers, I think, where we've seen them that they had to choose one over the other. And I've also been in this corporate world, and I continue to be on the parallel, having another company, being there. And I see that it is so, I think just the synergy is so different when we're sitting in a meeting where they're all men, and they're so, like you said, they're just always so hyper focused on one thing. And I see this team of mine where their mothers, they have a family. And it's so, and I, when I was speaking to one of my friend, and he happened to cross over one of our meetings, and he was like, so my associate editor and my designer, they all have children. And we're in the middle of this meeting, and one child comes in, and he's like, oh, I want this. And she's like, okay. So, like, they've never seen, for them it just did, it felt so abrupt, because having a meeting where children are around and they're talking and they're trying to multitask, and we're like, okay, why don't you go back home, or why don't you cook food and come back, in the meanwhile I will focus on this. And I feel like it is such a different way of working with however I've worked so far. And it does get hard sometimes, because we are all juggling and also taking over each other's load. But also it just gives me so much inspiration in the fact that when I look at my designer today, and like how she's managing being, having an ex child, but also working through having, being alone, um having a small kid, that someday, it's not, I think that's just the own projection. When I see them, I'm like, if we can make this happen for one, we can make this happen for all. And it's, we no longer have to choose one or the other.
Yes, I agree with that completely. And I think that's what it is, right? Is that we all want to have it all. And that's exactly the way that you have to do it. No one is going to give it to you. You just have to take it and you have to claim it and you have to own it. And then that's how it's going to come to you, because the kind of world that we live in, we do have to fight so much prejudice, so many different people's perceptions. And unless you are going to take it into your own hands, it's literally no one is going to do this for you.
I love that. I love that. Okay. One last question. Since you're this ambitious, I love this energy. I think I love the ambition when the ambition, if specifically what at least I, again, like I'm saying, I've said this since the beginning. For me, ambition is only not how much we are, at a cost of what. I think I keep asking myself this, at a cost of what I do. There are days where we would like to work more, but at some point, um you want to know what is the wholesome life that you want. Now, what is that you looking at for 2024? What are your own goals and ambitions?
That's such a good question. So for 2024, I want to focus on growing my business overseas. I'll start with all of the business goals. I really want to start focusing energies on the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and getting a lot of my businesses solidified there, as well as obviously catering to my Indian clientele that is already there. I would also like to focus on doing much larger projects. So currently, our largest project is like a 20,000 square foot house. I would want at least a couple of more 30,000 square foot spaces that we're doing. Um, a lot more commercial spaces as well. I would love to do that for 2024. On the personal front, I think I would want to take out a lot of time for myself. With two kids, I find it very difficult to be alone. I not that I don't want to, it's that I don't get a chance to. Sorry, just 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, she's here.
oh.
Oh,
Bye. Bye. See you.
bye.
Love you, baby. Sure. Personal front, I want to be alone. So for this year's birthday, I want to take an alone trip. I just want to be alone. That's like my dream for this year is to spend more time alone, and focus a lot on my fitness, which is my real obsession in life.
You are of, oh my God. I have seen your journey all through this pregnancy. God, I was like,
So I'm not a religious person. I'm agnostic. I don't believe that there's just one religion that gets you, to closer to your spiritual attainment or whatever that is. Um, but for me, working out is my religion. It is my truest way of getting that. So every day for 1 hour, all I do when I'm working out is I think of all the amazing things I have in my life, everything I'm grateful for, and then I imagine everything that's coming for me. And that's why I think like manifestation is something that's very powerful for me because of how much I work out. And every day for 1 hour, that's all I do. Like my mind is worrying and I'm imagining everything like it's already there in my hands. So yeah, I would love to continue doing that, and I would love to travel, but not too much. I think I have a lot of domestic
you
travel.
already travel. I think what we tend to miss out is when we say travel, you already do travel.
Yeah,
I think travel for your own self, traveling where
perfect.
we,
Yeah,
yeah, I think in a world like today, traveling has become like we have this conscious, oh, if I'm going here, let me see if I can make a meeting or do some
yeah,
work or do
yeah.
some research. And it feels like this, we have to be productive all the time.
I agree. I agree. And I think also for me, because like we've discussed already how much multitasking happens, my brain is always very switched on, which is why I feel like alone time, then I just don't feel like I'm truly switching off. Even if I'm at home, home is more stressful than office for me, genuinely. Like I'd rather be in the office. When I'm at home, it's so overwhelming because like it's emotionally draining being with two kids. And for people who are stay-at-home moms, I just don't know how they do it. It's so tiring, so difficult. I find being a working mom easier because I get to leave the house and come here and have my own space and do something else. And to be 24/7 with your kids, as beautiful and amazing as that is, it's also very overwhelming and very frustrating and very tiring, which I think people don't get enough credit for. They just dismiss it as like, she's still just sitting at home. What is she doing? It's so tough. It's so tough. So yeah,
And I think also it's just not the act of being at home. I think when a woman is taking that load off so that someone else can go out of that house and do
yes,
something and not putting or taking a halt on her own dreams, and some people are doing it. This is my dream. If I ever have children, I want to take a year off. I really want to do that. But and I think we all have, because I've been working when I started when I was 18, and
okay,
ever
so it's been
since
a long
then,
time.
Yeah, it's been so long that I feel like at one point in my, and I have always, I lost my mom and I've had a very
I'm
dysfunctional family in
sorry.
that situation. I always felt like this. I want to have this, like I've had this career and I'm very grateful for it. But once in a life, I would always want that I can have that one dedicated time to experience that part of life.
Use
And
your
I think we
faith,
all
right?
have our own ways of um, dealing with things. And I think as I like, it said, to each its own. There's so many stereotypes that we can keep fighting and keep thinking about, but also how can we create new narratives, new visions, new paths.
Totally, absolutely.
Okay, one again, I said last, but I have one more. There are a lot of young women who listen to the podcast. Most of them are creative in their own, a lot of artists, designers, all parts. I think I think a lot of the problems remain still the same. It does not matter you're an artist if you're looking for collectors or a gallery, or you're an interior designer, you're looking for clients. But at the end of the day, I think the root causes remain the same, right? How do we get over these limiting beliefs, and how do women, specifically in the early years of their career, how do they break that shell? What advice do you have for them?
It's been such a long process for me, but I think as women, we're also taught to be more quiet and not outspoken. There are very few truly loud and outspoken women. And it's also considered to be like very crass to be, as a woman to say certain things or do certain things. But I would say that that's where you have to start and just speak your truth, have a voice, don't take shit from anybody. It doesn't matter if it's day one on your career or day 10 or day 1000. You need to start believing in yourself. And I think it's really just about belief systems. If you truly at your heart believe that you can do it, you will do it. If you have doubts and you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, then it's not going to happen for you. So whatever it is that you want, truly have that belief and faith that it's going to happen for you. Work on trying to tap and open that portal for you, which allows you to really feel it's going to happen, and then continue to work hard and take everyday steps to make it happen. It's not just enough to in your head say, oh, I'm going to be a trillionaire, and then like sit on your ass and do nothing, right? Like it has to be accompanied by real tangible steps that you continue to take in that right direction. And finally, especially when you're starting out, just start with small steps, but continue to take one step every day. Don't try and scale the entire mountain in one day. No one gets there like that. You have to pace yourself out, and it's not a race; it's a marathon. So you have to, yeah, it really
Yeah.
is, you know. So like you have to really pace yourself, and finally, do not compare your progress to what you perceive as someone else's
What
progress.
else is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in this day and age of social media. So even for me, like I have peers who have started out their careers with me, and they feel completely like blindsided because they feel like, oh, Sarah's career has taken off because she has all these Instagram followers and mine is still stuck where it is. But that should not limit you. Like you should still
Yeah.
continue to focus on you. Just put your blinkers on. Don't look left or right and who's doing what. Focus your energies on you and how you can get better and improve.
That is really a great conversation and excellent advices that we've had not only now, but I think as in more and more people hear from you. And thank you so much for being. I know whenever I see people sharing online, I've got this really sympathetic lens in the sense of, because I know how exhausting it is to put ourselves out there. Like it it is, but also when people do, it's adding so much impact and value to other people, because when you look at other people's life and very transparently, I think having that honesty in that sense really adds that layer to people. Okay, I can learn from this person, but also it is a hard process. So thank you so much for always being putting your word, putting your voice, taking that effort and toll. Where can people who are listening to this episode, where can they find you? How can we support you? How can they connect with you?
Instagram is a great spot for me. I'm quite responsive on most days, but that's always a good place to find me. So I have my personal page, which is Sarah Sham, And then I have my work page, which is Isaji's Atelier. That's ESSAJEES Atelier, ATELIER.
I will link everything in the show notes of the episode. But thank you so much, Sarah. I really hope you have a good day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye.